Dairou.
After his family was murdered, Dairou's hunger for revenge allowed him to be tricked into killing an innocent man. Now the former Satan guardsman works alone as a mercenary. He takes assignments where he can find them, whether they are noble or not.
Dairou was a part of the same military force as Hotaru in the Realm of Order. Dairou was accused of a crime and was about to be sentenced. Eventually, Dairou breaks free and becomes a rogue.
Dairou was a character that was introduced in Deception, but we actually had begun working on him during Deadly Alliance, and he didn't make the cut. I always thought he was a cool-looking character, and he has one of the most powerful moves in Deception with his back slam move that pops the opponent up for certain juggles. That back slam move is easily my favorite of all of Dairou's moves.
The enigmatic Ermac is a being composed of the souls of conquered outworld warriors. For many years he served at the side of Shao Kahn, but has since freed himself from the Emperor's influence. Once a force of evil, he now controls his own destiny.
Ermac has always been one of my favorite characters. He's kind of a more mysterious ninja.
Ermac is a warrior that was comprised of many different warrior souls, all merged into one entity. Shao Kahn put him together and used him to do his bidding.
In our diagnostic screen, it said Ermac 5, and people thought that it was something that was related to the game, but it had nothing to do with the game, and so they thought that there was a character named Ermac. That started a rumor, and that, you know, a lot of the ideas that we like to create are ones that were based on rumors from previous games. Ermac's special moves involved kind of mystic psychic powers, you know, levitation and, you know, shooting projectiles, teleporting. He was a very magic kind of orientated character. He was actually one of the more powerful characters in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 because of that teleport slam move that he had. That's easily one of my favorite moves in Mortal Kombat 3, and maybe one of my favorite moves in all the Mortal Kombat games has been that teleport slam.
When Raiden was accepted into the pantheon of the Elder Gods, Fujin replaced him as protector of Earthrealm. Fujin's wisdom is matched only by his ferocity in battle.
In the Mortal Kombat 4 storyline, Raiden becomes elevated to Elder God status, so somebody has to become the protector of Earthrealm, and Fujin is given that title.
Fujin is was the second god character that we introduced in Mortal Kombat in terms of fighting character. Raiden was the first one, and Fujin was the god of wind. I always regretted us having the kind of crossbow weapon that we had for Fujin in Mortal Kombat 4 because it was different than all the other characters. It was more like a projectile, and it had these crazy attributes that the computer AI had a difficult time dealing with. Armageddon is probably going to bring back a lot of his wind moves. You know, you can still lift up your opponent with the wind, and you can throw like kind of tornadoes at your opponent, which spin them around.
Jarek.
Long thought to be the last remaining member of the Black Dragon, Jarek had served as Kano's second in command. After his master's apparent death, Jarek fled to Adinia, Shinnok's attempt to take control of the realm seemed to leave him no other choice, and so Jarek joined forces with his sworn enemies, Sonya Blade and Jackson Briggs.
Jarek first made his appearance in MK4, and if you actually look at him, he's based on one of our character artists, Herman Sanchez.
Jarek was a character introduced in Mortal Kombat 4, and he's basically Mortal Kombat 4's Kano character. He has all of Kano's moves, from the I-beam to the ball rolling move, and then he has an additional move, a back slam move, basically causes an earthquake that the other characters, you have to jump up to avoid.
Fatality.
Once a member of the White Lotus Society, Kai trained under the instruction of Liu Kang. His tutelage complete, Kai wanders the world on a quest of self-enlightenment.
Kai is a member of the White Lotus Society, which is an organization formed by Raiden to protect Earthrealm.
Kai was another character introduced in Mortal Kombat 4. We wanted an African-American character who was very nimble, very quick, like Liu Kang. We really wanted to give him projectile moves that were completely different from Liu Kang, so his fireballs go down into the ground and come up by the opponent, or he shoots them into the sky and they land down on the opponent.
Fatality.
In Mortal Kombat 4, he actually was able to stand on his hands and walk around on his hands, which, I wish we could have had created that for his alternate fighting style in Armageddon, but there really wasn't time to do that.
Mortal fatality.
Once one of Quan Chi's 3 elite lieutenants, the demon Sareena had a change of heart, offering to help Sub-Zero to defeat her sorcerer master. This betrayal cost her her human form and brought her years of suffering in the Netherrealm. Now free, she has regained her mortal form and has pledged allegiance to Sub-Zero and the Lin Kuei.
You are still immortal. That means you can escape the Netherrealm.
Sareena's a character that first appeared in Mortal Kombat mythology's Sub-Zero. She first became a playable character in the Deadly Alliance handheld version. Sareena was originally one of Quan Chi's henchmen, but she broke away from his control to help Sub-Zero.
Hi, how are you?
Sareena is one of the few characters that we have in Armageddon that was from one of the adventure games in Mortal Kombat. So she was kind of like a side character in mythologies, and so we decided to make her a fighting character. We originally had made her model for one of the handheld versions of Mortal Kombat, and since we already had this 3D model, we kind of finished the character off and decided to put her into Armageddon. We really want to have a certain amount of our characters be new, so to speak, where people haven't played as them before. Probably my favorite fighting move for Sareena is these knives that she throws. She throws them really fast, probably easily the fastest throwing projectile that we've had in any Mortal Kombat game. And you can actually juggle your opponent in the air by throwing multiple knives at them. It's a lot of fun to play. Sareena is actually one of the cooler new characters in the game.
Take me with you. I've waited an eternity to escape.
Kintaro.
Longtime bodyguard to Outworld royalty, Kintaro has served Shao Kahn for many years. Like Goro, he is a member of the four-armed Shokan race and descends from a lineage known for its brutality.
Kintaro is like a Shokan, but he looks like a tiger. He has tiger stripes. He works for Shao Kahn the same way that Goro did.
Kintaro is a kind of like a bigger, badder version of Goro that appeared in Mortal Kombat 2. He's a lot more nimble than Goro was because he was able to teleport and fly all over the screen, but he was actually bigger than Goro. So it was a lot more of a intimidating character because you never know what he was going to do next. He had a fireball, a teleport, a stomp move. I think my favorite move for Kintaro is the move that he shares with Sheeva, which is basically the teleport move. He basically flies off the top of the screen, lands on the opponent, stomps on them a few times. We tend to give the four-arm Kuotan characters that move.
Killer fatality. Kobra.
Once Kobra was nothing more than a street thug on his way to jail. Though extremely adept at martial arts, he used his skills for intimidation and cruelty. Freed by Cabal and Kira in a daring attack on the police, Kobra was asked to join the newly reformed Black Dragon clan, where his brutal nature would be an invaluable asset.
Kobra is a warrior from the mean streets of America. In the Mortal Kombat Deception storyline, his main goal was to kill people. He really wanted to use his newfound martial arts abilities and see if he could kill somebody with it.
We wanted him to be kind of Mortal Kombat Deception's version of the simple character that everybody can pick up and play. So shooting his fireball is very easy. His teleport move and his flaming fist move are very easy to execute. So we always wanted that character to be one of the more accessible characters. My favorite move for Kobra is this kind of crazy kick that he has where his leg kind of does this around the clock thing and he slams the opponent into the ground, bounces him up back into the air for jungle combos. One of the more elaborate moves that Kobra has.
Wins. Bloody fatality. Mocap.
This unfortunate bystander finds himself embroiled in an otherworldly struggle simply by being in the wrong place at the wrong time. A motion capture artist, Mocap now fights for his life. Fantasy and reality have become one and the same.
Mocap has a little bit of a storyline. He does motion capture for movies and video games, but it's not a deep story.
I have no idea how I got here. One moment I was in a motion capture studio in Chicago, the next moment I was here.
It was a late addition to the Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance lineup.
It's acting. It's the life, man.
Mocap is based on Carlos Pacina. He's our motion capture expert on the game and very talented performer. He's been in every Mortal Kombat game. He started out as Raiden.
Got that on. Got that action working.
At some point we were coming up with hidden characters, Blaze being one of them from Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, and Mocap was something we can easily put together, and we decided that let's make him look like Carlos, put Carlos in the game, and that's the main motivation behind the Mocap character.
Carlos is the life of this game.
Ed and Steve together came up with the idea of, hey, let's put in this funny, Carlos Mocap character, which, I thought was pretty flattering. But, it's also kind of weird seeing, a fatality performed on your actual self. so it's kind of disturbing a little bit.
Wins. Bloody fatality. Motaro.
As leader of Shao Kahn's extermination squads, Motaro proved to the Emperor the Centaur's superiority over the Shokan. During the invasion of Earthrealm, he slew many combatants before they could oppose Shao Kahn's rule. He will slay many more in the battle to come.
Motaro is from the Centaur race in Outworld. He was a boss character in Mortal Kombat 3. He's an enforcer for Shao Kahn, and at some point in the storyline, his Centaur race gains favor with Shao Kahn.
Motaro was probably probably the oddest shaped Mortal Kombat character that we've had. He was kind of one of those, Centaur, half horse, half man type of guy.
For Armageddon, we were faced with this decision of not including Motaro or getting rid of the back legs and including him. So we went with just getting rid of the back legs and bringing him into the game.
In Armageddon, Motaro is going to have a lot of the signature moves that he had from Mortal Kombat 3, which basically he shoots a projectile out of his tail and he can teleport like he did in Mortal Kombat 3, but we're also giving him new moves. He has this great charging move where he's like this big battering ram, so it's going to be a lot more of a bull in a china shop type of character.
Mortal fatality. Reiko.
Reiko has served as general to both Shao Kahn and Shinnok. He also served for a time as a member of the Brotherhood of Shadow. His skill in battle is legendary, though little else is known about this mysterious warrior.
Reiko is the general of Shao Kahn's armies. Reiko was given that position because of his ruthlessness. Shao Kahn likes that in his enforcers.
Reiko wins. Fatality.
Somehow in our discussions we started associating him with Shao Kahn in terms of the story, and so we started adding these kind of mystery elements where in Armageddon, some of his moves, he actually gets Shao Kahn's helmet. Reiko has a kind of like this crazy backflip kick that we introduced in Mortal Kombat 4. And he also has a teleport move where he flies off the screen and grabs his opponent with a off the bottom of the screen.
Reiko wins. Fatality. Sheeva.
A female of the four-armed Shokan race, Sheeva once served as protector of Queen Sindel. As brutal as Goro and Kintaro, she possesses more than enough power to destroy any opponent unfortunate enough to cross her path.
Sheeva is similar to Frost in that it's a female version of a favorite character. Sub-Zero was one of the favorite characters in the earlier Mortal Kombats, and so we had always talked about doing a female version, and we came up with Frost. Goro was clearly one of the most, iconic characters in Mortal Kombat 1, and so for Mortal Kombat 3, we decided to come up with a female version of it, and we wanted her to be a little bit more nimble, a little bit more, flexible than this big boss character, so we shrunk her down a little bit, made her more agile than Goro was. Sheeva was created using a stop-motion puppet. A lot of time and effort went into posing her, kind of like they used to do the old-fashioned movies with Jason and the Argonauts and all that. Every one of her frames was posed manually and then, saved into the computer and then animated like all the other digitized characters were.
Sheeva wins. Friendship. Friendship? Again?
My favorite move from Sheeva is probably her teleport move. Basically, she flies off the top of the screen, lands on her opponent, stomps on him a couple more times for good measure, and then jumps back off. It's easy to catch your opponent off guard with that move.
Bloody fatality. Shinnok.
Once an elder god, Shinnok was banished to the Netherrealm when he attempted to overthrow his fellow deities. Upon his escape, he once again tried to usurp his former allies' dominion over the realms. Nothing will stand in the way of his insatiable lust for power.
One of the story ideas we have is that the reason Shinnok was defeated in Mortal Kombat 4 was that Quan Chi didn't give him the real amulet. Quan Chi made a copy of the amulet and gave him the copy. And because of that, Shinnok wasn't as powerful as he should have been, and the heroes had an opportunity to destroy him and defeat him.
The original model for Shinnok was based on me. The artist who originally designed Shinnok thought that I looked a bit like a villain, so he made Shinnok look a little bit like me.
Brutality.
Shinnok was the kind of final boss character in Mortal Kombat 4. He probably shouldn't have been. I think that, we've always traditionally had big, huge characters that were, ominous and scary looking. And Shinnok actually originally would have, basically he would just mimic other characters. He would go through their animations and do their different fighting styles and whatnot. With Armageddon, we really wanted to try to give him more of his own identity, so he has his own special moves that involve, this big hand that he summons from the ground.
Mortal fatality. Stryker.
Curtis Stryker was the leader of the NYPD's Special Riot Control Division. During Shao Kahn's attempt to seize Earthrealm, Stryker found himself among the Earth Warriors, charged with saving mankind. To this day, he still has no idea how or why he was called to defend his home.
Stryker is one of the few warriors that is left behind in Earthrealm to help defeat Shao Kahn and stop his invasion.
Stryker was some people's favorite character and a lot of people's least favorite character in Mortal Kombat 3. He was probably the most urban, less superhero-looking character that we've had in a Mortal Kombat game before that, because it looked like he was just kind of wearing street clothes. He had a backwards cap on. He was like this cop, but he really didn't look futuristic or anything. And so a lot of people kind of looked at him in terms of the visuals, and they weren't attracted over in terms of picking him. But if you actually picked the character, he was one of the best hidden secrets in Mortal Kombat 3, where he was actually one of the strongest characters, and especially in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, when he was given his gun move, I think he was easily in the top 5 most powerful characters.
Stryker was never really a big fan favorite, so the challenge for Armageddon was trying to make him look cool and make those people like Stryker. Stryker has a lot of cool moves this game. He has a taser, he has bombs again, but he just has a sleeker, cooler look.
Stryker wins. Fatality. Taven.
Son of the Adinian god Argus, Taven awoke from a centuries-long sleep. to a future where powerful combatants wreak havoc upon the realms. To prevent Armageddon, he and his brother Dagon must undertake a quest that will decide the fate of the world.
Taven is an Edenian half-god. His father is a god, like Raiden. His mother is a mortal sorceress.
That looks like Mother having one of her visions. And this must be Father speaking with the Elder Gods. These sleeping figures might be my brother and I.
He has a brother, Dagon, and he and his brother have been put on a quest by their parents that may ultimately save the realms from Armageddon.
The final name for Taven was something that I voted against, but now it makes perfect sense to me. You know, it's one of those things where you name the character, you wonder how anybody can think of it as that name, and then a few weeks pass, and then it just seems very natural. So Taven is the conquest character that was created that you take from beginning to end and becomes an unlocked character. Taven is one of the very few new Mortal Kombat characters that are being introduced in Armageddon. Taven has a number of very cool moves in Conquest mode where he can basically suspend time, freeze all the opponents, and then kind of attack them at his will. And he has this great ground pound move where his fist becomes like a flaming fist, and he causes an earthquake with that. And that's probably my favorite move of all.
Fatality.
Blaze. Over the years, the Firespawn Blaze has watched over the realms, keeping guard over the egg of the Dragon King. His new purpose is to awaken the sons of Argus, so that they may begin their quest to save the realms from Armageddon.
Blaze is a firespawn who was created by an Edenian sorceress. His initial purpose was to wander the realms and keep an eye out for superpowered warriors, like Shang Tsung, Shao Kahn, even Raiden. The sorceress had a vision that eventually there would be too many of these superpowered warriors and eventually will cause Armageddon. Once Blaze sees that Armageddon is imminent, he'll step in and take action.
Well, Blaze is the final big boss character in Mortal Kombat Armageddon, and you can consider him to be like the final big boss. What everything was leading up to in all the Mortal Kombat games, the very top of the food chain is Blaze.
Blaze started out as a background character in MK2. He wasn't a playable character. You just saw him, he's about this big in the background of one of the pit backgrounds. At the time, we actually called him Torch. For legal reasons, we couldn't call him Torch, so we ended up naming him Blaze. What was cool about the Armageddon version of Blaze is that it gave us a chance to throw a lot of effects at him. He has a lot of cool particle effects. He has a lot of cool effects that we haven't done on any other character.
Blaze's moves are just really big, kind of massive. He's not a graceful character. He's huge on the screen. He's going to roll into a ball, steamroll his opponents. He's going to have a fireball, a quake, molten lava, teleport. He's obviously kind of like this heat-related character. My favorite move from Blaze is probably his steamroller rolling attack, where he basically just kind of rolls over the opponent.
A wandering Oni allied with Moloch, Drahmin was once a vicious landlord who found himself punished in the flames of hell after his death. Over the centuries, he has achieved the status of Oni Tormentor, and now practices his skills on the miserable souls of the fallen.
Drahmin is a really interesting looking character. He doesn't really look like what you'd expect a Mortal Kombat character to look like. He comes from the Netherrealm. He's an Oni, a demon, from hell. In Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, Drahmin and Moloch were assisting Quan Chi in escaping the Netherrealm. Quan Chi turned on them and abandoned them, so they have a vendetta against Quan Chi.
I always liked Drahmin as a character. I always had a cool design. He's basically, you know, a skinless guy with this big club for a weapon. Drahmin's basically just this big mound of walking, rotting flesh.
Drahmin was probably one of the most difficult characters to program just because he had this club on him when he kept switching sides. We had to write special code to make sure that the club didn't switch to his other arm. He was one of the oddest looking characters because he didn't look anything like a ninja, he didn't look anything like a human being. He was kind of like almost like this strange corpse-like feature with a mask on. To me, that was easily the oddest of the Mortal Kombat characters we've ever had. Drahmin, it was probably one of the more comical moves too, where he would actually shoot a ball of flies at his opponent. He always had flies buzzing around him, so we were trying to come up with moves for what kind of special moves are we going to give this guy, and then, you know, one of the obvious things was just a ball of flies, and the opponent's kind of waving the flies away from them.
Drahmin wins. Fatality. Frost.
A student of Lin Kuei Grandmaster Sub-Zero, Frost is a formidable young warrior. Her powers of cryomancy are extremely advanced for one so young. Headstrong and driven, her abilities are eclipsed only by her overconfidence.
Frost is very similar to Sub-Zero in that she has freezing powers. Her initial storyline is that she was trying to join the Lin Kuei, which was just reforming under the leadership of Sub-Zero. So she joins the clan, and Sub-Zero is so impressed with her fighting abilities and a little curious about the fact that she has powers over cold. He sort of takes her under his wing, takes her with to Outworld to fight the Deadly Alliance.
Frost wins. Fatality.
Frost is kind of the female Sub-Zero, if you want to think of it. Ever since we had the first Sub-Zero, we had always talked about having a female version of Sub-Zero. And for some reason we didn't do it in Mortal Kombat 2, 3, and 4. And for Deadly Alliance, we knew that we wanted to have a female freezing kind of character like Sub-Zero is, but give her her own story.
Frost was one of the first characters we actually designed for Deadly Alliance. Eventually became one of the players' favorites.
I remember when the public initially got wind of Frost being the female Sub-Zero, the backlash that we got for that. There were fans that were very upset that we were doing a female Sub-Zero. And I even remember one letter we got where some fan said, "Mortal Kombat will be destroyed if you do this." In fact, I think Frost is one of the best characters we have. I like her a lot. I think she's pretty cool.
The design of the Frost costume was done by Herman Sanchez, and he came up with this really great kind of frozen spiked hair for her with, you know, mist coming out of it, and that really became one of her more kind of signature visual traits that she's had in the game. And I've always thought that that was one of the more innovative design features we had in Deadly Alliance. My favorite Frost fighting move is her ground freezing projectile, where she basically shoots a beam of ice at her opponent along the ground, because we've never had one that was tracking the player along the floor. She has another slide move as well, but I think the ground freeze is easily my favorite move.
Frost wins. Fatality.
A denizen of Chaos Realm, Havik despises order and sees it as a threat to everything in which he believes. His mission is to create mayhem and further unravel the fabric of life. He will also destroy anyone who seeks to control others.
Havik is the cleric of chaos. Havik's philosophy is that chaos is good, order is bad, rules are bad. His arch nemesis is Motaro, who is all about order and control. The interesting thing about Havik's personality is that he doesn't form alliances with anyone unless it somehow will bring disorder to the universe. So he's not good or bad. Havik is about promoting his own agenda, which is chaos.
Originally, Havik was designed to be noob, but the design was a little too far-fetched from his original, all-black costume. So Havik was developed as his own character.
We wanted to have a character that kind of looked like he was decaying. When we thought of special moves for him, we thought, okay, let's do stuff that looks really disturbing. So we had him, breaking his own bones. And when he would shoot his projectiles, his knees would bend the wrong way. His harakiri move, where basically he would just tear his own head off, show it to the camera, and then fall over dead. So we really wanted his moves to be something that were disturbing and would make the audience kind of wince and like, every time he's doing these moves.
Brutal fatality. Hsu Hao.
Hsu Hao's strength is matched only by his treachery. For years, this Red Dragon spy worked as a member of the Outworld Investigation Agency alongside Sonya and Jax. Upon receiving orders from Mavado, Hsu Hao revealed himself as betrayer and destroyed the headquarters of OIA.
Hsu Hao is one of the Red Dragon clan, so he is definitely one of the bad guys. In Jax's ending, Hsu Hao gets killed. Jax rips his heart out, and we were fully prepared to say, yes, that really did happen. He's dead and he's gone. But Mortal Kombat Armageddon is about bringing every character back to life, so Hsu Hao is back, much to my dismay.
Hsu Hao is a Mongolian character who was originally designed to be the anti-Jax. The Chinese army did experiments on him and replaced most of his chest with machinery.
Hsu Hao is a character that went through a number of iterations. He had a completely different look when we first started Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. His two moves that he had was he had this big clap move that I had seen in a number of kind of comic books with superheroes that I always thought would be a cool thing to have in a fighting game. His fatality is he has this big beam that comes out of his chest, cuts the opponent in half. He has this kind of circling thing around his heart. Everybody's wondering, where does that come from? What does it do? And that's how we explained it with a fatality.
Hsu Hao wins. Deadly fatality.
Fighting for the freedom of her enslaved people, Li Mei was trained by Shujinko in the art of combat. Now she is a formidable warrior who battles for her people and for persecuted souls everywhere.
Li Mei is originally from Outworld. Her village was enslaved by Quan Chi and Shang Tsung. She vowed to defeat the Deadly Alliance in order to free her people.
Mortal fatality.
Because she had this kind of skimpy outfit, we gave her a lot more acrobatic and provocative moves in the game. So she has these crazy flip kicks where her legs are doing things that are just physically impossible. So she's kind of like the sexy bombshell character from Deadly Alliance. Probably one of my favorite moves from Li Mei is her backflip kick. She rotates around in an impossible way, pops the opponent up for a juggle, so it's a sexy and useful move.
Li Mei Fatality. Liu Kang.
The former champion of Mortal Kombat and member of the White Lotus Society, Liu Kang was murdered by Shang Tsung. He now exists as a living corpse, fueled by vengeance.
Fatality.
Liu Kang was Earthrealm's best hope at preventing Shao Kahn from taking over. After defending Earthrealm for many years against the forces of evil, Liu Kang was eventually killed by the Deadly Alliance, which was Quan Chi and Shang Tsung.
Liu Kang has always been the ultimate hero in Mortal Kombat. He's been kind of like the common man character throughout the whole series.
We don't give him the crazy violent moves. He's a Shaolin monk. You know, we really wanted to make him the character that was the hero of the game. So we did that for a number of titles, and finally we really wanted to kind of change things up.
At this point, Liu Kang exists in two forms. He's an undead corpse, and he's also his spirit self.
You know, Liu Kang was designed to be the most accessible Mortal Kombat character. You know, his moves are the simplest to perform. Towards, high punch, towards, high kick. So he had these really cool flying kicks and fireballs, and anybody can perform them because the combination was so easy to do. And so our idea with Liu Kang was always to make that the most accessible character that, you know, you could basically show your mom how to play Mortal Kombat using Liu Kang.
Finish him. Fatality. Mavado.
A leader of the Red Dragon clan, Mavado has undertaken a ruthless campaign of extermination against his rivals, the Black Dragon. Scouring the realms for his sworn enemies, Mavado vows that he will not rest until every last trace of the Black Dragon has been erased.
Mavado is from Earthrealm. He's a high-ranking member of the Red Dragon clan. His main objective has been to eradicate any members of the Black Dragon clan.
Mavado originally started out as more of a matador kind of character, which didn't fit into the Mortal Kombat look at all.
Mavado was another character who started out looking completely different than he ended up looking in the final version of Deadly Alliance. At one point, we just weren't happy with the direction that we're going, so we decided to go a lot more towards a darker black trench coat type of look. My favorite move from Mavado is probably his throw move, more like the opposite of Scorpion's spear, where he had these ropes that he could stick to the ground, propel himself forward and back, put his two ropes into the ground, and use the rubber band action from that to kick the opponent away. That was one of the cool moves in the game.
Mavado wins. Fatality. Moloch.
A demon or Oni. Moloch is a creature known more for his strength than his intellect. Astoundingly powerful and remarkably cruel, this hulking brute takes pure delight in the pain and suffering of others, especially if he has caused that pain.
Like Drahmin, Moloch is an Oni from the Netherrealm. He and Drahmin have escaped the Netherrealm, and now they're running amok. Initially, Moloch and Drahmin had a deal with Quan Chi that he would help them escape the Netherrealm if they were to protect him from Scorpion. But he escaped the Netherrealm and left them there, and they're really pissed. So now that Moloch and Drahmin have escaped the Netherrealm, they have a vendetta against Quan Chi.
Mortal fatality.
Moloch is one of the Onis that made an appearance in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. He's just a big gorilla kind of character, which makes him stand out from all the other Mortal Kombat characters. He has a big ball and chain as his weapon. He's more of a brute, I think more so than any other character in Mortal Kombat.
Moloch was the big boss guy in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, and he was one of the odder boss characters because he had this big ball that was kind of fused to his hand. So we knew that we were going to be creating moves that would involve this big bowling ball that was basically fused to his hand, you know, slamming it on the ground, causing quakes, smashing it into his opponents. He had such a hunchback that you didn't realize how big of a character it was. Most of Moloch's moves involved this big bowling ball that was kind of fused to his hand, where he was attacking opponents with him. We put a huge amount of damage on the move. He didn't have an elaborate array of moves that he could perform, but the ones that he did that involved this ball were very damaging, you know, almost half the opponent's energy.
Mortal fatality.
Nitara. A vampire from a forgotten realm, Nitara fights to keep her homeworld independent. Years ago, her realm was fused with Outworld, throwing it into chaos. Now that her home has been freed, she struggles to maintain its fragile stability.
Nitara was originally from the vampire realm, which at some point had been merged with Outworld by Shao Kahn. In Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, her main goal was to free her realm from Outworld.
Lewis, one of our character artists, thought it'd be cool to have a vampire element in Mortal Kombat, so he designed Nitara. Originally, we had plans to do a female and a male vampire for Deadly Alliance, but we ran out of time.
The original idea was actually to have a male vampire and a female vampire, and actually both characters were created in the game, but the male character was never put into game. It was one of the cutting room floor characters that may someday return into a future Mortal Kombat game. Nitara had a really cool projectile where she basically just spit this huge ball of blood. So when it hit the guy, it's exploding basketball of blood. That was a lot of fun. She had, you know, this great fatality where she would jump on her opponent and kind of like chew on their neck while they're kind of standing there helplessly. So she was probably one of the darker Mortal Kombat characters, a lot of blood associated with her.
Fatality.
Centuries ago, before the rule of Shao Kahn, Outworld was controlled by Onaga, the Dragon King. Recently, Onaga has found his way back to Outworld and is attempting to reclaim his former empire by any means necessary.
Onaga, also known as the Dragon King, was the original ruler of Outworld, who was overthrown by Shao Kahn sometime in the distant past. The Dragon King came back to life by possessing Reptile's body. You see a hint of that in Sindel's Mortal Kombat Deception ending, where in the background you can see Reptile laying there on the ground after she has killed the Dragon King. In Mortal Kombat Deception, Onaga's main goal was to become the ultimate ruler of Outworld again. In Armageddon, he finds that he has to make some alliances to achieve that goal.
Onaga the Dragon King is the big boss in Mortal Kombat Deception. The whole story is kind of wrapped around him.
The Dragon King is kind of like a character that had been evolving through a number of Mortal Kombat games. You know, we had kind of hinted in a number of our endings that Reptile was becoming this character that was evolving over time into a bigger character. And Deadly Alliance started making reference to this Dragon King character and associating it with Reptile. He was really kind of like one of these characters that was like hinted and then finally revealed in Deception as the big boss character in the game. He's a huge character, massive wings, very ominous looking character. Easily my favorite Onaga move is his throw, where he basically just grabs the opponent, flies up in the air, and then throws him down to the ground. It's probably the most cinematic throw move that we've had in a Mortal Kombat game.
Creative Fighter. Mortal Kombat Armageddon is the first MK to give players the opportunity to create a custom fighter, which they can completely define and compete with locally or online.
Creative Fighter is something we've wanted to do for a long time. The fans have been requesting it.
This is actually the opportunity for players to create their own characters and have them fight against the normal Mortal Kombat characters or fight against other created characters.
In Creative Fighter, you can pick out every different attribute on the character, from hairstyle to boot style to costume style. You can make the exact character you wanted to see in Mortal Kombat.
After you define the look of a character, then you can go in and name the two fighting styles, and you can assign different attacks. And one of the really exciting things is, besides just punches and kicks, you can actually create your own combos. So you can create your own string of 3 or 4 attacks and put those right in the game.
Our goal was to really let the player use their imagination in creating their characters. So we were giving them the ability to define the subtle things, but the things that really make a character unique, and define the character's name, define their character's victory animation, taunting animations, and other small nuances that really make a character unique.
Creative Fighter is set up so that if you're, a hardcore fan, you can go in and do everything from scratch and make this super character just from nothing, basically. And if you're a more casual player, you can go in, pick a default that'll have some attributes already assigned, and you can just tweak a couple things and then go in the game and fight.
Another thing we're very excited about with the Creative Fighter feature is the fact that you can take your Creative Fighter and play him online against other fighters created by other players. That to me is the real test of how powerful your character is, how he matches up against your opponents.
Although the blood of Adinian royalty flows through his veins, Rain is a traitor to his realm. When faced with the prospect of death at the hands of Shao Kahn, he offered his allegiance to the Emperor and betrayed his homeland.
Rain was a purple ninja who first made his appearance in MK3. He got his name from an 80s pop song.
Rain first appeared in Mortal Kombat 3, but he hasn't made an appearance since then. Rain will play a role in the Conquest mode of Mortal Kombat Armageddon.
Rain was a hidden character. It was one of those last-minute inspirational ideas. I remember we had taken a number of our ninjas and changed their color and created Sub-Zero to Scorpion to Reptile. And I think one day I was driving somewhere and I thought purple is a color that we didn't use, so we decided to put him just in the attract mode. He wasn't a selectable character. When people started coming up with the stories of how they found him and played him, we decided to say, okay, let's make him a hidden character that you can actually play in the game. My favorite fighting move from Rain would probably be his lightning summons move, where in Mortal Kombat Trilogy you were finally able to play as Rain, so we had to give him some moves, and we gave him this move where he would summon lightning that would strike the other player, bounce him up in the air for a juggle. That's probably my favorite move.
Finish him.
Rain wins. One of the original cyborgs manufactured by the Lin Kuei clan, Sektor has grown more and more corrupt over the years. As his programming deteriorates, he becomes a bigger threat than ever. He may prove to be a danger to all, regardless of their alignment.
Sektor is a cybernetic ninja created by the Lin Kuei clan, which is Sub-Zero's original clan. Originally, Sektor's objective was to seek and destroy Sub-Zero. Since then, he's created his own clan of cybernetic ninjas. At one point, Sektor kidnaps Taven, who's the hero of Conquest Mode, for the purposes of finding out what Taven knows about the quest. Sektor is one of 3 cybernetic ninjas. There's also Smoke and Cyrax.
Sektor's still one of my favorite characters in Mortal Kombat. His design was influenced by a bounty hunter in one of my favorite films. Sektor just has a lot of cool, techie attachments. Just overall, it's a cool looking character.
Sektor and Cyrax were 2 characters that we introduced in Mortal Kombat 3, and they were kind of like a robot version of a ninja. Basically 2 characters who look the same but have, different kind of main color scheme. And until we came up with names for Sektor and Cyrax, we called them ketchup and mustard because they were yellow and red. And for the longest time, that's how we referred to them. And finally, we had a meeting where we had to come up with a final name. The 2 names that people didn't hate the most were Sektor and Cyrax, and now you can't really think of those 2 and think of them with any other names. He was one of the characters who was the most difficult to come up with a name and went the furthest in production before he actually had a name. Sektor's signature moves involved a missile that came out of his chest, so he would use it as a projectile. He would shoot the missile forward. He had another homing missile in Mortal Kombat 3 that would kind of track the opponent. The other guy had to kind of keep running away from him. And he also had a great teleport move, which was great for juggling. He would fall off the bottom of the screen, come up on the other side, uppercut the opponent, which would make him vulnerable for another attack before he landed.
Finish him! Bloody fatality.